One of the things that we have noticed in elections is the fact that when the process is about to start, we have a redeployment of, say, area commanders and the police for INEC. The rec is changed. You know, fresh people are brought in and asked to man the process, ostensibly for credibility, so that it won't be that those that have been on the ground, say, have been polluted or bribed or anything, or allegations of any kind coming up against them and tarnishing the entire process. Do you think this is something that we should sustain?
Not really, because all those changes, you know, dramatic changes on the eve of elections, also shows the level of crisis of confidence in some of our institutions, you know, and the personnel who are on the ground. You know, but what I would just say, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't want to talk this way, but you can only say that the end, in this case, it tends to justify some of those drastic measures that have been taken, you know, because at the end of the day, what matters was that we had votes that counted, and in this case, quality votes. You know, I mean, when I say quality vote, don't forget that in those days, I mean, there are some states in which you had even voters more than those who registered. Here, we're talking of close to almost about 700 or so thousand, you know, votes out of 1 point something people that register. For me, it's not the quantity, but the quality of the votes. And if you also see the margin of contest, I mean, people know that we had contestation, as the case may be. So for me, maybe those deployments that were done also, you know, give us the basis to arrive at this outcome. But the point I want to raise is that in the long run, we should be able to build institutions in which we don't need to be doing dramatic changes at the last minute. And to do so means that all the institutions and personnel must know their responsibility, have an eye on the issues, not on the individuals who are contesting election. You know, and I think if we get it right, that would be a good legacy for all of us, especially with the case of the police. You know, I mean, because for me, at the end of the day, in a democratic setting, the best institution of defense for all of us is our police, not the soldiers, because soldiers are meant to protect us against external aggressions. You know, so I think I would be most happy, and I want to commend the IG, who has now been confirmed, MB Abubakar. It's done very well to really reorientate the police. You know, first, self-critical analysis. I mean, for the first time, you have an IG that openly said checkpoints are nothing but centers of extortions, and it's disbanded them. I mean, for me, that's the first way to show we need to have confidence in this institution. If you can do safer, and today we've seen that it was truly a center of extortion, because life had been far more easier in terms of movement of people on the road now without extortion. Then secondly, some of the move he had made with respect to this election we have in Edo, you know, including changes that have been done, also reinforce the role of the police rather than being party, you know, to hold notorious rigging, you know, machinations of some politicians. They become vehicles for making the vote to count. And so what I'm saying is that I think it's a whole process of nation building, but we must build institutions, you know. And I think Professor Jega, more than anything, must learn from that promise, that his personnel under him must learn to see the bigger picture.
Well, the next election, now you're talking, sorry to allow us to come in here. Now you're talking about the bigger picture. The next election is that of Ondo State. Quickly before we go, can you then do some kind of projection? What the expectations of INEC learning from the Edo experience?
Yeah, I think it must definitely improve. I mean, because honestly speaking, I strongly believe that Nigerians were one of the most highly trusting people. You know, I mean, there have been a lot of tolerance, you know, for INEC over the years. In fact, I was thinking that after Morrissey, we need to rebrand INEC and give different name, because, you know, it was associated with notoriety. I'm not talking here as a partisan, but just check all the judicial pronouncements of tribunals. INEC had been terribly, you know, sanctioned, you know, judicially in terms of its performance. Fake voter registers, you know. In some cases, you know, they even go to court. They join some parties to go to court to protect fake election results. So I think the learning curve should be over for Jega-led INEC. You know, I think we've done too much of trial and error. We must get it right. registration, or voter registration, if they want to do it, assuming it's necessary at all, you can't do it on the eve of election, which will create crisis of confidence, as we had in Edo. You get the important. Then simple things about punctuality. I mean, you have one single election, you can't arrive, you can't deliver materials on time. I think they should get it right. Because Nigerians are getting extremely impatient, and if the citizens not realize that they can as well deliver material themselves, they can count votes, we can as well retrench INEC. So what I want to say here is that I want to see an improved outcome. In Edo, and I don't want INEC to fulfill that as a test. The INEC is the weakest link in our democratic
So
chain.
perhaps we should pose the question, our voters, a poll question for the week to you. How would you rate INEC? Good, average, poor?
I really don't want to put it that way. I think by my tradition, my background, I like to be quite constructive, and I think we should rather do the SWOT analysis of INEC. We look at its strengths, its weaknesses,
but after we've done all of
possible
that,
threats and potentials.
So
on the whole, after we've done all of that,
you will still arrive at a conclusion as to
good, at the end of the
average,
day, I want to say that if we look at the Edo election, which has not been concluded, I think there's a consensus that the outcome of Edo election was free and fair, and you could see the expression of people in that jubilation. It could be other way around if it would have been otherwise, as the case may be. And you could also see that,
but
virtually across all the parties,
just a score wouldn't be a bad thing.
Let me land. Across all the parties, there's bipartisan recognition that this process is okay. To the extent, INEC shares part of this credit. But however, I want to say that its service delivery is still above. It's still below average, and it needs to be improved upon. Service delivery, especially if you look at the value chain with the idea of registration of voters, delivery of materials, it did very well in properly announcing results this time around. No waste of time. And I could see the professor, I've forgotten his name now, the VC of
Oshodi.
When you are reporting the truth, it was very eloquent and straightforward. But that's it. But we recorded casualties. 3 policemen, ad hoc officials who died. If you even use that one, you say that this miserable poor performance, for whatever reason. There could be accident, but when you take, a very mediocre route, the gap between accident and incident is very narrow. In fact, in this case, it was suicidal. What happened with the case of both mishap? And leadership must be able to probe into that to show that INEC can perform above average.